Welcome to the Dream Life is Real Life podcast. I'm your host, Hanna Hermanson. I know it might seem cheesy or cliche, but if you've got a sleeping giant inside of you, or you just feel like you're made for more, then there's no coincidence you landed here on the Dream Life is Real Life podcast. Listen, as a girl from small town Wisconsin who decided to go all in to her dream life vision, I know how crazy it can feel to chase after wild ideas. Since leaving my 9-to-5 job in academics back in 2015 to becoming a yoga teacher, a life coach, and now a digital nomad, currently living in Merida, Mexico with my husband and Labradoodle, I know that all the cheesy cliches are true. I've watched a lot of my dream life become my real life right in front of my eyes. Oh, and I've learned a whole lot about sales, business, and marketing along the way, and I want to share all of that with you. So here, you can consider me your friend and mentor. As a certified business coach, success trainer, international speaker, author, and copywriter, I've helped hundreds of coaches and entrepreneurs build, scale, and enjoy their online businesses. So here on the show, you'll find the real people, concrete tactics, and weekly motivation and inspiration to make your dream life your real life. I'm going to let you into the nooks and crannies of these dream lives and dream businesses and offer lots of real talk along the way. Because to be a true leader in whatever you're endeavoring in your life and to create a legacy that you're proud of, you need a tribe lifting you up with you on the journey. And I've made it my mission to be that partner with you. Because after all, we are all in this together. By the way, if you'd like some help improving your business and life, then we just might be able to help. Head on over to dreamlifeisreallife.com to learn more about what we do and how I might be able to personally support you and just continue this conversation in making your dream life your real life. All right, let's get to it. All right, today we are hanging out with an accomplished coach and business owner. We're hanging out with Kaitlyn, who is the winner of various awards, including Woman of Achievement in 2022, Young Professional of the Year in 2021, Brains Magazine, Global List, and the list goes on. But she's a licensed professional counselor who holds degrees in history and women's studies, gender and women's studies. So she's got this great picture when it comes to consulting, both for community and mental health. As a psychotherapist, she specializes in trauma and PTSD, domestic violence, sexual abuse, anxiety, and getting individuals and families the services they need. In addition to her private practice, Kaitlyn is proactively involved with many mental health services and outreach programs. She even has her own podcast, Tea Time with the Psychos, which aims to break the stigma surrounding mental illness. She's also written her first book, Healing is Messy AF, and she is here today. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so it sounds like you've collected lots of the degrees. You've gotten like a lot of the training. And so I'm curious, when in that more kind of traditional route of academia and getting degrees, when did you see the opportunity to open your own practice or take on this sort of business owner or entrepreneurial aspect of this sort of work? When did that come in?
That's a really great question. So how do I want to start this? When I started college, I wanted to be an actress. Okay. And then I turned out to be a history major with a women's studies minor, got my first master's degree in gender and women's studies, and then got my second master's degree in community and mental health counseling. I will say this, I have always led with my heart. That sounds strange to some people, but I'm really into, Kaitlyn, how are you passionate about this? Because if you're passionate about it and you lead that way, you will find a way. Now, it's not a straight line, and so when I work with people, what I try to say is follow your heart, but build your resume around it. So I feel like that strategy has really, really worked for me. And the fact of me listening to myself and my passion and my drive, anybody who meets me, wow, you're very passionate about what you do. Absolutely. And I want to be, and that's the driving force. And when it comes to mental health, what I try to say is, this is bigger than me. And I know that, if that makes sense, this passion to break the stigma, this passion to help, and my drive to treat mental health the way we treat physical health is what drives me. Now, that being said, does that passion and drive always pay the bills? Potentially, but I need to build my resume and be smart about that around it. So I've always kept that in the back of my head. And so when I say of building my resume, it's connecting with people, volunteering, doing those different things so that I could become a business owner and do this on my own. It wasn't until my second master's degree that's when I figured out, you know what, I do need to do this by myself, because it was a lot of trial and error. I love working with people and I love systems, but I don't always fit in those systems because I think I ask a lot of questions, and I'm not somebody who just do this because somebody told you to do that. You know what I mean? And so I think a lot of trial and error led me to then be like, okay, well, you need to make that leap for yourself. Although I have no training in business or entrepreneurial, any of it, I definitely had to learn those things. So probably the second master's degree is really what set me on that journey, if that answers the question.
Yeah, the timing of that. And I really hear three things culminating. One piece is that your why was bigger than you. And I think that it says a lot about coaches who do pad their resume, like you said, and get out in the world and work with real people. So number two, it was your relationships and your connections. Yep. And then number three, the unemployableness that so many of us have. And I think this is a great permission slip for folks listening and entrepreneurs, is that when you come from a why that's bigger than you, it's bigger than just I have to pay rent and I don't like my boss. It's got to be bigger than that. And you're starting to build the right connections and realizing that even if you're a solopreneur, you're still interconnected, and it's going to take real people to help you make it on your own. And then that third piece of knowing your personality and if you're meant for a traditional system or something wildly different. And absolutely. I think you having those three pieces sets you apart from a lot of coaches right now. So many coaches see the opportunity, or because of the pandemic, everyone went online and started these, programs. But I'm always excited to talk to folks who have padded their resume or had some of these experiences that really do set you apart from someone else who just, it happened to me, so I can help you with it.
Yeah. And I think the other piece too, at least I haven't had any training in that business side of things or those pieces. So to me, that's when I had to tap into what I was good at. What am I good at? Research. I learned research through my other programs. So then I'm reading things about how other people got started too. So the connection I had to myself, I think also very important, which you were kind of hitting on too, is knowing myself. You know what? I'm not meant for those systems. It's not that makes me bad or anything like that. I think people take it so personal. It's just a recognizing that it's just not a fit, and get comfortable with that. I think I'm probably too comfortable with it. But I'm always willing to pivot and to learn and to try new things. And so, that plays into that piece too. If you are comfortable in a system, I always tell everybody, then stay, do you. I just knew that it's not me. But if it's not me, I also, my background, I don't have anybody giving me any fund, you know what I mean? This has all been on my own. I don't come from, I don't have an inheritance that I get to fall back on or anything like that. If I fail, it's all on me. So to me, that was very motivating and continues to keep me motivated, because the mission is bigger than me. The reason is, and then the purpose is always there. So those pieces are clicking together for sure.
Yeah. And for a lot of folks who don't have the inheritance or people backing them in any way, the comfort is not necessarily the structure or how it's working. I think the comfort is that people come to you. You don't have to do the hustle of finding clients. So talk to us about your transition of really owning your own results and starting to build your own clientele. Perfect. If you could look back now and say, all right, Kaitlyn, here you go. You're on your own. What would be the shortcut or the advice you would give yourself to start getting your own clientele?
Okay. How do I want to say? I think pivot and discipline are going to be my key components in all of this. And when I say pivot, I mean, like I knew what the outcome and where the carrot is and how I want to get there, but I had no idea how to get there. So you need to be able to pivot. So when I was launching, I took this leap of faith and I am ready to be out on my own. Guess what happened? The world shut down. Right. So all of a sudden I did all the work. I'm going to do this. I'm going to open my own practice. I've got all the skills. And then life literally flipped me upside down. Because truthfully, who opens a private practice in a pandemic? Right. Well, I guess I did. What I would say to that is a lot of the fear came into me, right? Like, I don't know. I don't have a mentor to look to and say they did the same thing. Actually, most people were going inside and I chose to stay outside. So I've been in person this entire time. You know what I mean? So that was going against the grind too. And another piece was developing my workbook about that. I'm like, how do we meet people where they are at outside of these four walls? And how do we get them to come into these four walls? So that, there was just a lot of pieces happening. What I would say is I didn't let the pandemic scare me. I didn't let my own fears stop me, but it's not to say that any of those things were easy. I just had to listen to myself. And as a clinician, what the pandemic did as well was really flipped therapy upside down for me. I was on an even, people come in and they think that I hold this position, and in some ways, right, they give you a level of respect because you have these clinical skills. I get that. But we were all on the same page because I was going through a pandemic too. I had never been trained in it. I couldn't say that I didn't understand because guess what? I understood. And so what it did was it infused what I feel the therapeutic relationship could be or should be, and did that and put us all on the same playing field. And so it actually enriched the process. And I think it enriched those, the therapy itself and built off of that. So that's that piece. What I would say to anybody starting is you just need to have 5 people or start with 1. And here's what I always fall back on. Did I do good therapy? Did I provide a service that was good for them? And if I did that, then I have no doubt that they're going to go tell 5 other people. And then I have no doubt that one of those 5 are going to come to me and all of that. And obviously everybody needed therapy in the pandemic. So I guess in hindsight, it was a good idea to open a practice and be in person, but you don't know that unless you try. And so another piece is that pivoting. Constant pivot, but keep your eye on the prize. And then the discipline piece would be stay disciplined because the mission is bigger than you. And did you do the best you could? And if there's room for improvement, pivot, but stick and stay disciplined to the plan. So the plan was to open a private practice. So that's kind of what I would say. Hopefully that answers in a long-winded way.
I think that beginner's mindset is really powerful, right? Like the pandemic forced us all to be like, we're making it up as we go. And when you're running your own show, that's every single day. It's not just during the pandemic. It's getting comfortable with, making it up as we go and having that beginner's mindset. Now, I want to zero in a little bit on this 5 people because it's similar to something that I teach when you're starting a new offer or you just, need to get folks in the door, which I know is probably different with therapy. There's different kind of unspoken culture, like I'm not so sure, to be honest with you, if I want to tell my friends who my therapist is because she's like mine. And, it's like, there's like weird dynamics with that. But I think that there is something really critical to what you said, which is word of mouth marketing. And like you said, if you focus on having a great product, giving great therapy, offering a great service, you can have so much more trust. And like, I want all coaches listening now to just like, think about the quality of service you provide. And if you're in integrity and feel good about it, you can take a massive exhale about what's going to happen in your business this week, next month, next year, because lasting businesses all have a great reputation. And this like rule of 5 is something I literally teach. Like ask 5 people a day, like tell 5 people, right? Like getting into that motion is discipline that the law of attraction appreciates, that you're like out hitting the sidewalk, creating connections. But any other specifics, like how, because, you know, we can meditate and be woo-woo about just calling in 5 people, but what, if anything, have you implemented into your business as far as like a referral system, or making this something more predictable than just, I'll tell them and they'll show up? This is a big question. How do we systematize referrals? If you have any insight on that.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go back. Okay. I think I'm going to go back to that connection piece. So that resume, right? Who do I know outside of my current arena that's doing something? Can I look to what they're doing and replicate? So, and that's what I mean about breaking the stigma. We're now in schools in our community, which is something that I was a very big part of, helped pilot. And ultimately, if I couldn't get them in my office door, then I would go to them. Does that make sense? That was another thing that I thought of as well. If we can't get them in the door, do I provide services that go to them? So leaning into that uncomfortableness and just kind of seeing, that's what I mean about the pivot. Could I provide home visits? Should I provide telehealth? Should I do these different things? And so what I would say is know your population, do a really good job at what you are good at, and then right? I also am comfortable. Like if I needed to pick up a waitressing job, I would. If I needed to pick up something else because it wasn't what I needed, I would also be comfortable pivoting in that direction as well. We also, within the clinical world, have different things like Psychology Today, good therapy, other modalities that you put your profile on, and it people will search it. And if they find you, they can connect with you. So that was another piece that I had. So I guess within whatever arena you're in, are there modalities or social structures that are already built that you upload your profile to, and then people can connect to you that way? I had to learn how to create a website. And now I've created like 3 of them. I had no skill in it whatsoever, but that website, I can promote the website. People can go there, you know what I mean? And do those different types of things. So I would just really encourage people to so that's what I'm good at. And I know it, research. How can I do what potentially other people are doing? And then how can I fit into that system, and how does it fit me? And maybe if it is just a couple of clients, well, okay, those modalities, now you're up to 10 people. I don't know, how many do you need to see? So if your goal is 20, you're halfway there, right?
Yeah, this is classic market research of finding where your people are hanging out and how you can show up there. And
not take it so personal. Like, I think this is that emotional, it's nothing personal. It's like, if it doesn't work, that doesn't mean that you failed and that you're a failure. It just means it's not a fit. Does that make sense? And so that's what I go back to. You know what? One of those modalities, it didn't work. I wasn't getting a lot of revenue. I tried it for a year and then I was done. Does that mean that I failed? No, it just means I pivoted and I don't have to take it so personal.
Yeah. And this is actually the exact reason why I stepped away from business coaching, because the business coaching world tells you there's a certain way to do things. And we're all running to our secret sauce of, you know, this is how I teach people to get clients. But the truth is, we all have such different blueprints and personalities and needs. And so now I've kind of flipped the script and I'm helping coaches look at how they want to show up. I was so sick of like telling people like, here's how you post, here's how you do it. And they're like, I don't want to be on social media. And now getting into their business and identifying their strengths, their desires, and how they're actually going to show up consistently. Because there really isn't a one size fits all. But these principles that you're talking about of identifying your hubs, like I call them, where your people are hanging out, and asking yourself how you want to show up. And I would diagnose for therapy talk, you are someone who has decided to take the trust, like the credibility leg, as one of your lead generators by writing books, writing for publications like you and I are both in Brains, and positioning yourself as the go-to expert. And I think this is something that a lot of healers forget. They try to like get in the DMs and get down here and do freebies when there's a really big opportunity to elevate yourself in ways that you are: podcasts, books, publications. So what has your experience been with putting yourself in those credible sources and building those connections and kind of having that word of mouth piece work for your business? Have you seen it?
Yeah, great question. Oh yeah. So and I like that you said that because I didn't even think of it. So the podcast wasn't my idea. It was my co-host's idea. I wasn't really big into them. I was like, sure, whatever. We get to hang out, drink tea, talk about mental health, whatever. It's actually taken a life of its own. And I didn't, first of all, I'm being transparent. I didn't think anybody would listen, but like we've got a good following. I've gotten referrals from my podcast, which also, back to your question, is amazing because now they know me, like, my personality. And when it comes to therapy specifically, I try to teach everybody, if you connect with your therapist, you're going to have better outcomes. So find somebody that works for you. This isn't a one size fits all. So they're actually coming in with a baseline knowledge of me, and then it's even better. So what I would say, that was me. That came out of nowhere, but that came through collaboration, and it's still evolving. It could be really, really cool if we honed in even further on it, but it's just another modality to get people, and I'm getting quality people. So putting myself out there and my presence on social media, and I haven't done the traditional like, oh, you're supposed to post at this time and have a color scheme. I get so confused. I should hire somebody, but I just do what feels good to me, and then people resonate with that, and then they've come to me, and it's just been more authentic connection, I would say.
And it's real. The woo people are going to love this, right? Like if you don't love the way you're showing up, if you don't love your marketing strategy, who else will? Right? This is what I call pull marketing. This is the feminine approach to like pulling people in. They already know you. They like your personality. They think it's their idea to reach out to you, Kaitlyn, and be like, I've been listening, I've been watching, which is dramatically different than the masculine marketing that we've been seeing from like 2010 to the pandemic-ish. And even some people are still holding on to this bro marketing, which is push marketing, which is where we tell and we show and we DM and we say, do my thing. You have to sign up now. The cart is closing. Hurry up. Right. That like, push.
It's all confused. It confuses me. It makes me feel overwhelmed.
And this is a paradigm shift that we're seeing like in the stars, if you will. Right. And so I'm underscoring this because I think a lot of spiritual leaders and life coaches need to start thinking more strategically about how they're pulling people up to meet them where they're at, instead of falling back into old patterns. This is like mindset work, people. But if you want to make your marketing be authentic and feel good and ride for the long haul, this pull marketing, elevating yourself up and starting to find where you can show up like Kaitlyn has, is the way of the next decade.
I agree.
All sorts of paradigms right now. And this is a big one.
And it's constantly thinking, I don't know what's next, but I just put one foot in front of the other. Just put one foot. And that's all you have to do. If you can invest in yourself and your business 1% every day, okay? Guess what? After 30 days, you've done 30 things. You know what I mean? That's a different perspective, 1 foot, to get you to where the end game is. And then once I've reached that end game, I'm sure I've got another one, right? And so that's what that makes me think of. And I like that flow versus like the force one for sure.
And that's like the perfect segue to what is, that showing up, that 1%. I think that's so important because this is a lifelong thing. There is not like one funnel away from your island where you're never going to do work again. Like marketing is an everyday experiment and you're going to, put one foot in front of the other for the long haul. So I think that's really great advice to break it down and just like discipline, like you said too. Because I think this is also something we lost in the masculine marketing world. We thought there was like a switch that we could flip and it would just bring us all these leads inside of Facebook or some algorithm thing. And what we're realizing is that it's about these lifelong relationships with your audience, growing it, making connections, and showing up for them.
Yeah. And quality versus quantity. And like, that's like, so if I know I did quality work, I know that that's going to resonate. And I think that people need to feel comfortable with that too. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Amazing. So with that, if you were to give folks advice, what is one of those things that they could do today to get them closer to their dream life? Whether it's, you can give us therapy advice or business advice, but like, if you could just say like, I would love if everyone listening could do this one thing to support their dreams today, what would you do?
Shoot.
What would you give them?
All right, if I can give you one piece of advice, I'm going to go back to self. I want you to know yourself because that's where it's going to start. I always tell people, I will always tell you what I'm really good at, areas I'm not so good at, and I lean into it. So my biggest advice to you is don't get overwhelmed with the systems and what you're going to do, but listen to yourself. Okay. And say, all right, I want to open this business and that's the carrot that's out there. And you know what? I don't know exactly how I'm going to get there, but if I know myself, so that's what I was getting at. I'm good at research. I should be after 3 freaking degrees later, right? So 2 masters, I think I learned a few things in there. And that's what I'm getting at. So I was like, okay, Kaitlyn, I know how to do research. How can I research people that have already potentially done this? Not the same way that I'm going to do it, because we also have to, I think when we look for mentors and those different things, we should look at people and think like, okay, I see what they did good. Does that fit what I'm trying to do? So I think your first step is always going to be self and listening to yourself, which is probably the hardest step because we get very caught up in those. So I'm going to say that's external ego versus internal soul. So internal soul is knowing yourself and being comfortable with that and trying different things. So that would be my answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My little type A hack to add to that is personality tests. I say this on the show all the time. Give me human design, Enneagram, Colby, StrengthsFinder, and like those frameworks are so helpful for me because I still question and like talk to my soul. And I was like, are you sure you think that? Are you sure you want? And like having that external, like take a test. The psychology degree in me is all about like that kind of step. So maybe that's
what is your human design? I'm a manifesting generator.
Same girl. Yeah.
Yes. So yes, absolutely. And that's what I mean. That's a 1%. Is it directly? So did you learning that directly get you to your business? No, but it was one step that you took to connect into yourself, and your business is you. And that's what I try to teach people too. I'm a walking brand right now. So anywhere I go, because I am comfortable in those modalities and I have done these different arenas, that everywhere I go, I'm a walking brand. And also that walking brand piece are also potential referrals or relationship building in the future.
Yep. Oh, I know a redheaded girl who does this. Oh yeah. I know a girl who lives in Mexico who could help you. Yeah, totally. That's real. Yes. That's really real for sure.
Yeah. So that's 1%. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so as people are listening and vibing with you and wanting to, learn more about the modalities of like that healing and getting to know themselves, tell us where they can get connected and get some resources for you on that kind of inner healing piece.
Perfect. So obviously I am on social media. So Facebook, my business, Keneally Counseling and Tea Time with the Psychos are on there. Instagram as well, Tea Time with the Psychos, and then Kaitlyn Keneally for those types of things. YouTube, we just started our YouTube channel, Kaitlyn Keneally, Tea Time with the Psychos. Our podcast is out there. So we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and I think Google Casts, something like that. I also have my, I think you're going to send out the Kajabi website that I have, which is a pre-sale well, I'm saying pre-sale, which I'll sign your book and I'll send it to you. So I'll have that up for like another month or so. As a way to get my book. I'm relaunching, redeveloping, I'm going to say, my courses. So that is through that Kajabi website as well, or otherwise the book is on Amazon and it's called Healing is Messy as Fuck.
AF. I love it. Well, that people can stay connected with you, Kaitlyn. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. You are spitting fire over there.
Literally, yes.
Doing the good work that you do, right? Healing and the industry that you're in right now is so powerful, and power to you. Yeah, totally.
Thank you.
Raising consciousness, right? One chit chat at a time.
I like that.
Friends, I'll be back next week with another inspiring guest that will help you make your dream life and business your real life. And don't forget to hop on over to dreamlifeisreallife.com/show for specific goodies that we talked about today and access to continue the conversation with these guests as well as myself. I cannot wait to see what you create. Until next time.